Local 551. We build Ford cars here in Chicago. I'm here to speak about a worker solidarity action network that was conceived at our local at a workers meeting, workers conference last fall. The Worker Solidarity Action Network is supposed to be building solidarity, educating the working class, and building solidarity among workers, both union and non-union alike. On the international solidarity front, a couple of the things that we've been working on are, first of all, the Driscolls boycott. Driscolls strawberries and other berries are grown in Baja California in Mexico. The workers in San Quintin have gone on strike. 80,000 of them have gone on strike, but they were met with brutality from the Mexican government and the growers. They went on strike because of poor pay, poor working conditions, child labor. In spite of the fact that there are laws against child labor in Mexico, there's nowhere else for the children to go. When your family is trying to survive on $6 a day, you can't send your child to school, so they bring them with them to the fields, and naturally they start helping to pick the berries to supplement the income. The pesticides, there's no protection of the pesticides of the workers in the Driscolls fields, and there are growers that grow berries for Driscolls. So it's not Driscolls doesn't own the fields, but they supply the berry plants and then take the profits out of it. So we are supporting the Driscolls boycott, and to that end, here in Chicago last fall, we did an action at a Pete's Fresh Market, which stocks primarily Driscolls products in their produce department. In that action, we went into the store and removed the berries from the shelves while we told the customers that were coming in to boycott Driscolls and handed them a flyer. Of course, this drew the attention of management, and so they came down and asked us to leave, and we said, well, we're here because we don't want slave labor and child labor represented in your store. What are you going to do about it? As we were taking the berries off the shelf, continuing to take the berries off the shelf, there was about 25 of us there working together to remove the berries from the shelves. They had called the CEO of the company actually came down. By the time we had left by that time, by the time he got there, because it was a drive for him. But we got the attention that we wanted. Telemundo was there. There was press there. So this got some publicity. So we are continuing to ask that you work on this boycott and maybe think of some actions that you can do in your hometown, in your stores that are carrying these products that are poisoning the workers in Mexico, that are keeping them enslaved. And on one thing that we just decided at lunchtime was that on May Day, we plan to do an action, several actions across the country, because the Worker Solidarity Action Network has members from coast to coast. So this is one of the things that we decided that we were going to do on May Day to support the Driscolls boycott. So now I'd like to pivot to our international solidarity with workers in Canada. You may or may not have heard of the Lac Megantic train disaster. There was an oil train that was not manned at the time that went rolling down into the town of Lac Megantic, derailed, the oil spilled out, and explosions ensued, and it killed dozens of the town members and decimated the downtown area. The problem is that rather than face the fact that the Canadian government and MMA company that was the railroad company that that ran these trains twisted the regulations so that only one person was required to operate a train. Now, this was a recipe for disaster, and they're not taking responsibility for it. What they did was they scapegoated the workers. The worker that was on the train that was required after so many hours to go get some rest rather than operate the train under the regulations had done exactly what he was supposed to do. He left the engine running, left the air brakes on, set a couple of hand brakes, and went to the hotel and went to sleep. The engine had failed in the meantime. There was a fire in the engine. The first responders came there, put the fire out, and then shut the engine off and went away. Well, after a little while, the air bled off of the brakes, and the hand brakes weren't enough to hold it. So it rolled down and created this disaster that was a disaster created by the government and the company. But the workers were the ones that were put on trial. They were facing life imprisonment. The conductor of that train, or the engineer of that train, and also a yard worker that I'm not sure how he even got into the mix there. But anyway, we organized or helped with Railroad Workers United to organize some protests at the Canadian consulates, just as the trial was going to the jury. And we had several actions across the country, in San Francisco, in Chicago, in Washington, and we got some press out of that, but it also buoyed the hopes of the workers that were on trial. So shortly after that, we got word that the jury acquitted them. So that was a victory for the workers.
When did that happen?
The acquittal was just this past February. I think it was in February. So that's a recent victory for the workers. But it shows that we have to work together to fight both our governments and our corporations that have taken control of our governments. So I'd encourage everybody to, if you're on Facebook, go find our Worker Solidarity Action Network Facebook page. We have a Facebook group. We're working on a website. And join in that and share it with your friends so that we can build this network out, so that we can educate the working class on what it means to fight back against corporate rule. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.